Before I could explain, he punched me, knocking me to the ground. The impact was jarring, and I felt a sharp pain shoot through my jaw. Before I knew what was happening, he handcuffed me, and as I tried to catch my breath, a seizure hit. I was helpless, but Bender just laughed. I convulsed on the ground for minutes and hurt myself as I did. When it finally stopped, I was dizzy and in rough shape, and I pleaded with Officer Bender to see reason. "Please, I didn't do anything. Check the cameras. You'll see." "Yeah, I'll bet. Don't worry. I called for backup, and when they arrive, we'll take you downtown and process you, and your dog will be brought to the pound where he'll be put down." Backup arrived, and they stuffed Tanner into a small crate while I was thrown into a police car. As we drove to the station, I begged the officers to review the restaurant's security footage. They were reluctant to listen to me, but they also knew that they needed to perform a full investigation. I never thought that my life would revolve around so much drama at a coffee shop of all places. I mean, I've always felt safe and comfortable going to them anywhere in the world, but here I am, and boy, do I have a crazy story to share. My name is Alvin, and my service dog Tanner is my constant companion. Tanner isn't just a dog, he's my lifeline. He helps me manage my epilepsy, alerting me before seizures, and ensuring I'm safe when they happen. Thankfully, I have always been good with computers, and I managed to find a job as a cybersecurity specialist. Working remotely means I can work from anywhere, and my favorite spot has always been a cozy coffee shop downtown. The coffee is great, it's close to a lovely park, and the food is die for. However, nothing ever stays the same, and one day, we were surprised when we showed up for usual morning routine. We saw an odd sign in the window that said it was under new ownership. The shop had been sold to a new owner, Ryan, who from the moment he walked out of the back room and into the main shop area, well, he seemed to have a chip on his shoulder. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it was very obvious that he had a strong disdain for animals. "Hey you, yeah, you with the dog, you can't bring that mud in here anymore." "Excuse me? Hold on, he isn't just some random animal. Tanner is a service dog. He's allowed to be wherever I am." "I don't care what kind of dog he is. No animals in my shop. Now get that smelly beast out of here." I was taken aback by his hostility. I tried to explain Tanner's role, and I even tried to show him the paperwork I carried with me, stating that Tanner had the legal right to be there, but Ryan wasn't having it. To my surprise, he called the police. It was annoying, but I figured that once the police showed up that I could show them my paperwork and everything would be sorted out. But things only ended up getting worse. When Officer Bender arrived, I felt a sliver of hope. He had a police dog with him. Surely he'd understand. But that hope was quickly dashed. "Look, you need to leave. If you don't, I'll have my dog take care of yours. Permanently if you catch my drift. On top of that, if you're not out of here in the next minute, you'll be under arrest and your dog will be put down." "But officer, we have a legal right to be here, and Tanner isn't hurting anyone." "I didn't stutter, buddy. Just leave before I order my dog to rip your dog to pieces. Your choice." Fear gripped me as I left the shop, Tanner by my side. I felt humiliated and powerless. I had never been so mistreated before. In the whole 5 years that I had Tanner, I had never encountered people like Ryan and Bender. Sure, there were some people that gave me grief for Tanner being with me, but once they understood that he was a service dog, they usually stopped and apologized. Instead, both of them were so incredibly hostile. The next day, I was determined not to let Ryan's prejudice control my life. I decided to work from the restaurant next door. I figured it was a safer option, but I was wrong. Ryan somehow spotted me and stormed over, his face red with anger. "What did I tell you about coming around here with that dog? Leave, or I swear I'll make you regret it." "Ryan, I'm not even in your shop. You can't force me to leave this restaurant. They have already told me that it's okay that he is in here. And why do you hate Tanner so much? He's a service dog, not a pet." "I hate all dogs. One attacked me as a kid. They smell, they shed, and they're loud. Just get out. I'm good friends with the owner of this restaurant and he'll take my side if I tell him that your dog is violent." I tried to reason with him, promising to leave once my food arrived and take it with me to go. Ryan begrudgingly left, but not without a final threat. Once he was gone, I changed my mind and decided to stay and eat there. As I ate, I noticed Officer Bender and his dog partner walking by. He saw me and made a beeline for my table. "You again?" I thought I told you to stay away. Just because this isn't the same shop as yesterday doesn't change a thing. Please, officer, I'm just trying to work. Tanner is a service dog. This is my right." He sneered, enjoying his power trip. His presence made my heart race, but I tried to remain calm. Meanwhile, Ryan was up to something. I saw him sneaking around. He entered the restaurant again, and I braced myself for a shouting match, but he just skulked around while I arguing with Officer Bender. I later found out that while I was speaking with Bender, that Ryan was placing a stake on the ground near Tanner. Thankfully, Tanner is very well trained, and he ignored it, but Bender's police dog wasn't as disciplined. The dog rushed over and ate the steak, convulsing moments later before collapsing. I then realized that Ryan had poisoned the steak and had intended for Tanner to eat it, but had inadvertently seriously hurt the police dog. "Oh no! Someone call a vet quickly!" "What happened? What did you do to my dog?" "You did this. You're going to pay." Before I could explain, he punched me, knocking me to the ground. The impact was jarring, and I felt a sharp pain shoot through my jaw. Before I knew what was happening, he handcuffed me, and as I tried to catch my breath, a seizure hit. I was helpless, but Bender just laughed. I convulsed on the ground for minutes and hurt myself as I did. When it finally stopped, I was dizzy and in rough shape, and I pleaded with Officer Bender to see reason. "Please, I didn't do anything. Check the cameras. You'll see." "Yeah, I'll bet. Don't worry. I called for backup, and when they arrive, we'll take you downtown and process you, and your dog will be brought to the pound where he'll be put down." Backup arrived, and they stuffed Tanner into a small crate while I was thrown into a police car. As we drove to the station, I begged the officers to review the restaurant's security footage. They were reluctant to listen to me, but they also knew that they needed to perform a full investigation, and so thankfully, they watched the footage. Hours later, I was released. The footage clearly showed Ryan sneaking up behind me and planting the steak on the ground, giggling the whole time. It was plain as day that I had nothing to do with the poisoned steak. Once I was released, I went straight to a lawyer and told them everything that had happened. He told me that I had a very good case and that he could guarantee me results. My wrongful arrest led to a lawsuit, and I was awarded a substantial settlement, and Bender was fired and sentenced to prison for his actions. He didn't end up being in prison for more than a year, but it was something at least. Ryan, however, wasn't so lucky. His attempt to harm Tanner backfired, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the death of a police dog, who was considered a police officer just as much as any human. In the aftermath, I struggled to process everything. Tanner stayed by my side, his calm presence a comfort during the turbulent days. The coffee shop was sold again, and the new owner took it in a completely different direction. It became a cat cafe. And of course, service animals were welcome so long as they got along well with cats. And Tanner, being a very good boy, loved visiting the cats. Despite the trauma, we found happiness again, and for that, I'm forever grateful. With Tanner by my side, I know we can face anything. Our journey has been difficult, but it has taught me the value of resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right. Together, we've moved forward, stronger than ever. The first few days after the incident were a blur of legal consultations and media attention. Tanner and I became the center of a heated debate about the rights of service animals. Advocacy groups reached out, offering support and sharing similar stories of discrimination. It was overwhelming, but I knew this was bigger than just Tanner and me. One night, as I sat at home with Tanner curled up at my feet, I received a call from an old friend, Emma, who worked as a journalist. She had seen the news and wanted to write a feature about our experience. We talked for hours, and for the first time, I felt like our story could make a difference.
Alvin, people need to hear this. It's not just about raising awareness, it's about creating change. Are you ready for that?
I think so, Emma. If our story can help even one person, it's worth it. The article was published a week later, and the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from across the country, people sharing their own experiences, offering support, and thanking us for speaking out. It was both heartwarming and humbling. I also think it helped bring attention to our case and possibly helped to prevent Officer Bender from getting just a slap on the wrist. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings against Officer Bender and Ryan continued. The courtroom was tense as evidence was presented, showing the clear discrimination and abuse of power. The judge didn't hold back in his sentencing, emphasizing the severity of their actions. The justice system had worked in our favor, but the journey had taken its toll. I was determined to use this experience to advocate for better training and awareness about service animals. After 1 year, when Officer Bender was released, he couldn't get any proper job because people had posted pictures of him online, exposing how cruel he was to both dogs and humans when he was a police officer. Employers were afraid of getting a bad reputation by hiring him, so he ended up working as a security guard at a small restaurant. Even though I was compensated, I still wanted my own revenge. I tracked Officer Bender to where he worked and hired 2 guys to kidnap him. We locked him in a basement with 3 different dogs for 3 days and made him eat from the same dish as the dogs. When the guys finally released him, he had to skip town that same night. Serves him right. The cat cafe became our sanctuary. Tanner quickly became a favorite among the patrons, especially the cats, who seemed to enjoy his gentle nature. Life slowly returned to normal, but the lessons we learned stayed with us. Thanks for watching.